I guess I'll start, and then obviously open it up for questions. We're super excited to start the season. It's been awesome. We got into this building August 25th, and the vibe and energy here has been incredible. I think we've had an extremely productive all season with guys in the gym. We're very, very fortunate to be the best market in the league, where guys live here 12 months of the year. So to have the group together has been terrific. To see the growth of some of our veterans and our young guys taking steps moving forward. We're really, really looking forward to the season. I think we're going to be extremely competitive, hard playing, tough, high IQ group. I think our defense is going to be significantly improved due to some of the off-season additions, where we really want to address having multiple point of attack defenders. It's been a weakness of ours for a number of years. I think there's a great deal of pride in our group and what we've done. We feel extremely fortunate that we have the longest active consecutive streak of winning seasons in the NBA. We're also extremely prideful to have 2 first ballot Hall of Fame players who all they know in the regular season is winning. Kawhi is first of all active veteran players, I think, who have played 400 or more games in winning percentage. James is 6. And those guys, when healthy, they make the playoffs. And that's what they've done. I think we have a really, really good group around them. The vibe and the chemistry, and it's easy to say that in September and training camp, but just really, really excited to see this group come together. And then a couple of you guys called me, so I'll address it right now. Last week, just about Kawhi's status. So his right knee, the swelling has significantly gone down. It's almost gone. He wants to participate in everything in training camp, but we're going to hold him back from drill work and really focus on strengthening, because the goal is to get him 100% so he can have a great season, not just this year, but for many years. We'll have a detailed plan, step by step, kind of measure, just having objective measures to go from one phase to the next. But he's super determined, super excited, and can't wait to get started. So without further ado, questions? Okay, this was fun.
So you said you guys are holding him out of certain drill work?
Yeah, we're not going to have him do drill work. So we're just really going to focus on strengthening and loading. I think we learned some lessons. Just if you think about, he desperately wanted to come back and play in that Dallas series, and within a game and a half, the inflammation came where it wasn't manageable. So we don't want to put ourselves in that position. He's spent after the Olympics a lot of the season just with a lot of strengthening. We want to continue doing that so we can get him 100%.
You said the inflammation has gone down significantly, but not completely?
Yeah, but I would say it's very, very positive in terms of just kind of all the things he's had to manage since the end of the season. I think we're in a really good place, but we want to keep it in a good place.
Lawrence, is there any concern on your part or the team's part that it's taken this long for that inflammation to go down?
Well, I think the encouraging thing is we've seen progress. This was a real tricky thing in terms of the inflammation. We're kind of searching for answers along the way, and I think with time we continue to learn more and more what works, what hasn't, and from there, I mean, it's truly unfortunate that he's had to deal with this, but I think we're definitely trending in the right direction.
How much of this would you say is more preventative than it is what he's kind of dealing with right now? As in, like, you said working on strengthening, so,
Yeah, I think it's more just seeing a bigger picture that, again, what's fresh in my mind is, we got the knee in a really, really good place, comes back for Dallas, and it's been manageable since, but we really, really have spent the offseason of trying to get this 100%, and I think we're getting closer and closer. So, yeah, I'd say, for him, he wants to participate and do all these things, but we also want to make sure we're not skipping any steps and get him right.
Do you expect Kawhi Leonard to be ready for the regular season opener?
Yeah, good question. I think that the timing's all going to basically depend on how his knee responds to each phase. So no one has a crystal ball. We're trending in a really, really good direction. I know he's super determined to have a great year, but the timing, I think when it comes to your body and your health, I don't think you put time frames on it. I think you just have to respond to how he responds.
Lawrence, given all the fluidity with this, what are your expectations of what Kawhi can give you all this season?
I think Kawhi's gonna have a great year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hungry, he's determined, he's, when healthy, one of the greatest players in the world. He has a great deal of pride. As you guys know who follow us, he has an unbelievable work ethic. He takes pride and ownership in being a Clipper, and he wants to give his best to his teammates, the organization, and our fans. And so I know he can't wait to get started.
Knowing where Kawhi is now, what you guys know now, did the training camp with Team USA affect that at all? Did you see certain things there that led you to believe that this is the best course of action?
Yeah, well, I think the thing we saw, look, obviously he was cleared medically. I watched him prepare for it. I was there at the first two practices, and I was really disappointed that they didn't give him a longer runway. And look, many players deal with swelling. So there's a point of manageable swelling, and then there's a point where, okay, if it gets worse, that's when it could have, further risk of injury. So I think with all that being said, the swelling didn't subside the way that we thought from a timing standpoint. And so it just took a little bit longer for the swelling to get to the point to where it's at now. So again, I'm encouraged that it's happened now, and now we want to keep it where it stays that way for the entire year.
Lawrence, along those lines, with you guys losing PG, is there any level of concern that Kawhi may not be able to take on some of the bigger responsibility that you guys may need to put on him this season without another star?
Well, look, I mean, Kawhi is one of the all-time great players. So great players, will always, the cream rises to the top. But I think it's a good question, and we looked at just from a roster construction is to try to make it where he doesn't have to guard the best offensive player, that we have multiple people we can throw at. We can play him at different positions. Yet at the same time, the great players, they rise to the greatest moments. So I'm sure, fourth quarter, key moments, Kawhi's going to want to guard the best player. But we now have a number of different options where it doesn't necessarily have to have that wear and tear on him. But, when you're one of the best two-way players in the league, like you want to play that way. It's like Superman flying without his cape. He's not a normal human being. This guy's special. So I'm sure he'll be the same great two-way player he was this past year.
Lawrence, how is Kawhi doing mentally with yet another knee injury that he's going to have to deal with?
Well, I think he's encouraged now. Yeah, I think he's encouraged. I think we're starting to see some light at the end of it. We wish it would have happened earlier and quicker. But, you go through all the different, training, treatments, modalities, you turn over every stone, every rock, you consult all the experts. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's encouraged that we're very much trending in the right direction.
Was there concern that you guys might not get to trending in the right direction as far as his knee is concerned and the inflammation?
I think the thing is, it's just a matter of when. The body's hard to predict, and you just try to get the best minds. You search near and far, and Kawhi obviously all he wants to do is to be healthy and stay healthy and to figure out different ways we can do it. So the process, it's you just never know when, but I'm glad we're at least trending in the direction we are, and now we want to keep it that way.
Besides Kawhi, is everyone else good to go to start training camp with drill work?
Let's see. Trent Flowers had wrist surgery around 10 weeks ago. He won't be going through training camp left wrist. We have a couple other guys who are a little dinged up. I won't give you their names now. We'll update you through, minor injuries. I'm hopeful that we have them back, but we may have a couple, for the first couple of days could be modified, but we'll give you an update as we get closer to camp.
Lawrence, given the moving parts with Kawhi's injury, Russ's departure, PG's departure, what do you expect James will look like as far as what's similar to last season, what might be different?
Yeah, James has been awesome. What's always hard when you get traded, and even though it was after 5 games, when you don't go through a training camp and you can't develop those bonds with the team, and now to see him fully immersed, he had a players only retreat at Arizona State where he organized everything. And the feedback from the players was it was the best they had been a part of because it was professional in that, like, the games they played every day were very serious, but there was joy to it. And they did a softball game middle of the week, and I think he's just really immersed himself. the unique thing about James for one of the great players of his generation, he totally immerses himself with the team. He's part of, not separate. And when your best players do that, it's very uniting. The other day we were doing testing in the performance room. Like, he's all in doing it. They're doing sprints, the young guys. He's all in doing it. He comes in on on the weekends. So it's awesome just to watch James, how he works. I know he's determined to have a great year. We do have ears. We do hear what people say about our team, and our guys are extremely motivated to have a season that hopefully surprises a lot of people.
Or last year when you guys got him, he's had that famous quote, like, I'm not a system player, I'm a system. With what you're going with Kawhi now, like, how comfortable is it to have a system in James and the way he operates for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I think that quote was taken a little bit out of context when you go through the whole thing. But I guess then James wears a T-shirt too, so I don't know. I think the advantage of having James for the period of time, T. Lue also has a great way of being able to play to James' strengths, but also more importantly playing to the team's strengths. The pecking order will be pretty clear, this year, which makes things easier from probably an offensive standpoint in terms of we know who we're playing through. And I think James, even watching him, out there going through all the, drill work, there's a lot of things James can do. He's obviously one of the great pick and roll players, but he understands basketball at the highest level. He's extremely high IQ, and I know him and T. Lue have talked about different things that they want to be able to do.
Where do things stand with Terrence? Extension talks, something like that. You guys had conversations since we last spoke, anything like that?
Yeah, ongoing. We continue to have them. I think we're hopeful we can find a deal. We'd like Terrence to be here and be here for a long time. And yet we're also respectful of the business side of it, that it has to make sense for both sides. But we have really, really cordial dialogue and continue to have them. And I guess time will tell. But we hope we can get a deal done.
Lawrence, as it relates to not just Terrence, but players across the league, what are your thoughts on this theory that a guy can increase his value into a season? Like, guys who might have a certain value right now, we're in preseason, and you need to see something to say, okay, this is what we are looking for, we want to commit to this. Or you see someone across the league and it's like, oh, like they might have come in the season injured, but now they've shown that they're healthy, they showed they could still play at a high level, we're more interested, or something like that.
Yeah, I think it would depend on the player. I think with Terrence, someone who's been with us for 6 years, he's going to be 28 probably during the season, and we've seen him in all different scenarios. Because even the year where Kawhi missed because ACL and Paul played 32 games, like Terrence had to take on a bigger role. We've also seen him. We've seen him at the start. We've seen him come off the bench. And he works his tail off, so I think he'll continue to get better. I think, with it is, he's always been, he won't be this year a slow starter, but he always has shot a high percentage. We just want him to shoot more threes. I think because of the makeup of our roster, I think he'll get back to being a really, really good rebounder for his position. But we have great faith in Terrence. Obviously we place a high value on him, not just because he's a very, very good basketball player. He's extremely high character, and he's about all the right things. But then there's always the unknown. And the tough thing, I think, Law, is when you look at it across the league, if players have outlier years, you really got to dig into why. Sometimes it's who they're playing with. Sometimes it could be style of play. Sometimes it could be there finally was a pathway for them to play, where before maybe there were some other people in front of them. So you really got to dig into the why. But when there's consistency, by and large, most players just incrementally get better, with the rare exception of someone just having a huge breakout year, which not impossible, but it's probably more the exception than the rule.
Lawrence, you mentioned hearing some of the noise about your team and some of the expectations that you guys have, and maybe wanting to prove that wrong. Do you guys feel, as currently constructed, that this is a championship caliber roster?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll never put a ceiling on a team. I'm not naive. I have the internet, www. whatever. There's newspapers, so I know what Vegas is saying about us. So we're honest with ourselves. Yet at the same time, I'm not gonna put a ceiling and say what we can and cannot be. I think the way we have it is, if James and Kawhi are healthy, you have two heavy lifters who can still deliver night in and night out. I think we've definitely improved our depth, and I think we've improved the fits around those guys. Not perfect, and you know, I'm not gonna read too much into it, but I do like kind of the chemistry and camaraderie of what I see. And then the biggest thing we have is opportunity. There's opportunity. So I think everyone knows kind of what to expect from Kawhi and James. You know, Zoo, does he take another jump? You know, build off what he did this summer? Norm, some of the guys that we signed this offseason, some of the guys that have been here, they're unknowns. And you know, I think probably the way that T. Lou will approach it is, there's probably a couple guys that you know are definitely gonna play major minutes. The rest, compete. Like, if you wanna be a competitive team, you have to have competitive guys. And if you want competitive guys to always be thirsty, they gotta be fighting for things. And having that great internal competition, I think is really, really good. Sometimes can make it challenging for a coach to figure out, but I think it's going to be great internal competition throughout the whole month of October.
Lawrence, going back to Kawhi for a second, I know there's a long way to go in his process to get ready and on the floor. With the amount of back-to-backs that you guys have, and I know you have to talk to medical and have to work on a plan, but for you guys specifically, is the injury management for him that he went through before with his knee, is that something that you guys will look forward to doing this year to kind of maximize what you get out of him when he is on the floor?
Yeah, I think you take all the inputs. One, just how he's doing, where he's at. You know, we have so much data and information and just past historicals. Okay, what's worked, what hasn't worked. The sports science community will talk about undulating. You know, in terms of if you're playing, like if you're starting to go like this, you need to, obviously he played 68 games last year, which is the most he's played in 8 years, which was super encouraging. But typically what we do is we sit down, we get all the experts in the room along with Kawhi, and we just kind of take it month by month approach, and then you have to be ready to adjust one way or the other. So when Kawhi's healthy, he wants to play. What we also have to manage to make sure is that he's playing at his best both in the regular season and having the opportunity to finish the postseason and beyond. So we don't have the answer yet, but it's kind of an ongoing dialogue. But first we want to get him 100%, then we'll sit down and map it out, kind of take it a month at a time.
You mentioned Zoo. You guys obviously agreed to the extension earlier this year, this summer, excuse me. Just what did you guys see there? Obviously, we talked before, but now that it's official, what did you see there and the confidence you're giving him that deal?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely earned it. Super proud of Zoo. I think he continues to develop, and I think he's capable of more. I mean, you look at his, points per possession when we throw the ball into the post with him. He does a great job. And Zoo is a clipper. He's extremely durable. He's available. He's invested. He's not afraid to challenge things when things aren't, going maybe in the right direction. I think he'll have even more pride of place because he is, him and Terrence are basically the longest tenured Clippers. So you're always super excited to reward guys. It's great to, and again, it's all Steve, but when you're seeing guys being able to, earn generational money and, they've kind of come through the program, even though obviously we didn't draft Zoo, but we consider them kind of ours. And yet I think, because there will be some questions about who fills in that offensive void, Zoo, I think James really helped Zoo, but Zoo really helped himself because, as great a passer as James is, he can't make those floaters for Zoo. And to add that as part of his game, his left hand significantly was better. And he had another, very, good summer. So we're excited that he signed, and we're excited what his future looks like.
Lawrence, how do you look at what some people call the power forward position, like in terms of bigger players next to Zoo, bigger players per se, especially when Kawhi is there. Obviously, he played a lot of the four last year, guarded a lot of fours. Like, how do you see that position as it relates to Kawhi and as it relates to really the league as a whole?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know if this is a defense mechanism. I never use the number 4. So the way I look at roster construction, point 3 wings and a big. And so we have 3 wings. So in terms of, it's, okay, who's going to guard the 4s, right? And now there are some big, powerful 4s in the league. And then there's some other 4s that are basically 3s playing 4s. But I think we look at Kawhi, we look at Nico, look at Kobe, look at Derek can play the 4, PJ can play the 4, and heck, I mean, there are times we played Terrence at the 4, Amir at the 4. So, yeah, I think my biggest concern related to your question is we got to become a better rebounding team. So we're going to be a great blockout team, and we're going to need a bunch of guys to have career years rebounding the ball, and we're going to do it by committee. So yeah, if you had a bigger, quote unquote, what you call them 4, what I call big wing, typically those guys, just because of size, strength, rebound the ball well, both not just in the area but outside the area. So, but I'm hoping by committee that we can really, I know it's a huge focus for T-Lou and the coaching staff, that we have to become a significantly better rebounding team.
Well, this is maybe more of a side question, but with the guard rotation, you guys obviously brought in Chris and presumably James and Terrence to be the starting backcourt. How do you kind of see that guard rotation shaking out, since you guys have a collection of guards that could all be competing for minutes?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a T-Lou question. Like I dodged that. But I do think it'll be great competition for those spots, that there's not going to be necessarily tenure, like everyone's going to have to earn it. And then always, I think you go through the entire season figuring out, it's not just, look, everyone's talented. It's what players fit best together. What combinations can I play together? What combinations can I not play together? Because the skill sets may be, redundant or duplicative. But watching us, and it's pickups, so you take it for what it's worth. But like we've seen Chris play both on and off the ball. His point of attack defense is tremendous, but he knows how to play. Like, he's a connector, and he has great self-awareness of being a vet in the league. Like, okay, who am I playing with? James, Terrence, Bones, Kevin. Like, I think all those guys have shown, in this month of being able to play on and off the ball, but more importantly, playing the right way.
Unless anybody wants to stay for the Usher meet and greet, this will be the last question.
Lawrence,
When is Usher coming?
Sorry to hear.
Oh, okay.
Lawrence, a couple of years ago, Kawhi missed the whole year. PG played 30